This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show / Postgame Live presented by Rock'em Sox. Today, as we're recording this, it is November 21st, 2024. Jonathan Osborne here, joined by my co-host and usually in the driver's seat for these postgame lives, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what is going on, man? Good morning to you.
Good morning, 1:01 a.m. Eastern Time after the Magic fall in L.A. Also want to welcome our postgame live crew who's here with us in the chat. So it's going to be a fun little hybrid episode, podcast episode / Sixth Man Show postgame live, which means we will get the chat involved. And of course, as we always do, we got to start with the super chats. It's David S. who gets us started. He says, did we really get out rebounded 49-24? First off, thank you for that super chat, David. And yes, life is rough in the rebound department tonight. We're going to talk all about that when we talk more about this Clippers game here in a little bit. But thank you so much for that super chat. But yeah, Jonathan, glad to be here with you, man.
Yeah, selfishly, we're kind of doing this, mashup episode, if you will, because we weren't going to have you do a post-game live until about 1:30 a.m. Then we get started with the pod at about 2 a.m. We wouldn't get to bed, the both of us, till after about 4 a.m. tonight, so we weren't going to do that. So, again, you guys have this special edition of the post-game live presented by Rock'em. Kev, you want to talk a little bit about Rock'em before we jump in talking about some basketball here?
I know you got a pair of these, but have you checked out these stuff socks? These things are crazy. They're so fun. They're brand new from our friends at Rock'em. Yeah, there he is. Jonathan's got it too. So yeah, check them out at rock'em.com. Just use this code MAGIC20 because it'll get you 20% off your order at rock'em.com all season long. Again, socks and underwear, not just for the Magic, but for some of your other favorite sports teams. And again, it's the holiday season. Non-sports fans out there, maybe you want to buy a gift for that special someone in your life. I guarantee you Rock'em has something for them. So again, check them out at rock'em.com and use that code MAGIC20.
Now, before we get into Magic basketball, also wanted to remind you all of the group night that we have coming up on December 19th when the Magic take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. That game, as of now, is set to be on TNT, and we're putting together a group of 100+ Magic fans to go out to that game together and really try to change the atmosphere of that game. And if you're one of the first 100 fans to buy tickets to that game, then you're also going to get access to the pregame warmups. Getting emails every day and messages on social media. How do I know if I'm one of the first 100? If you've bought tickets at this point, odds are that you most likely are part of that first 100. But the Magic will be sending out emails over the course of the next couple of weeks, so just keep an eye on your email inbox for that. And Kevin, we've been hoping, fingers crossed, that maybe we could circle that game as a potential return for Paolo Banchero. Now, Paolo Banchero has been doing this sort of video, diary series with Mark Spears, and a new one is actually coming out Thursday, later, today as we're recording this, Thursday morning now. But there was a preview release a couple of days ago of Paolo talking about, he feels like he could potentially be back by Christmas around that time. But he also said that, if Arnie, says he's not ready to come back by that time, then he'll listen. But if he's given the green light, then he'll be back around that time. So obviously this is a little bit different from what we normally have with the Magic, right? We usually don't hear anything about any type of return basically until the guy is back. But what are your thoughts on that timetable and just what were your thoughts on Paolo sort of offering that up?
Yeah, the timetable is about in line with what we probably expected, once we heard the news. Paolo being so candid was kind of cool. Like you said, we don't really get that from the brass of the Magic necessarily, but sometimes players, they'll be a little more upfront and candid about things, It's hard to know because this injury is so unique, considering where it is on the body, that he's basically not able to do much at all as far as, staying conditioned and all those kinds of things. And so when he does come back, what does that look like? I don't know. So that's the other huge question mark is, let's say he is back by Christmas. Is he back in practices by Christmas? Is he back in the weight room by Christmas? What does back by Christmas mean? I know in his mind he's thinking basketball, but obviously the Magic are notorious for that not being the case. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Definitely excited to see that new episode on Thursday, though, with Mark Spears.
Yeah, and they were talking how like he's really not really able to do much of anything like stretch, run, basketball activity. So there's going to be the point where he gets back to that, and then we know the Magic are going to take their time to ramp him back up to the point where he's like fit to play. So, but it was nice for Paolo to just kind of come out and say that, right? He's the franchise guy. If anybody can come out and say stuff like that, it is going to be Paolo. So, looking forward to seeing him for sure here in a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we talk about the Clippers game, the game that everybody wants to talk about that we just got fresh off of that loss, we do have to go back to Monday to talk about the Magic's win over the Phoenix Suns, the first of the road trip, extending the win streak out to 6 games. And really just, a short-handed Phoenix Suns, no Bradley Beal, no Kevin Durant, no Yusuf Nurkic in that game. It came down to how good of a job can you do at slowing down Devin Booker. You're not going to completely stop him, but the game was really all about containing him. And I thought like the Magic's trio of Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, sort of throwing different looks at Devin Booker over the course of the night was rather effective. You hold Devin Booker to 17 points. Wasn't even the Phoenix Suns' leading scorer. He shot 5 of 14 from the floor. And just yet again, another monstrous Franz Wagner performance. 32 points, 12 of 24 from the floor, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, a monster Goga Batadze game, and, in my opinion, Anthony Black's best offensive performance of his career, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 10 from the floor, and 3 of 5 from behind the arc. I believe that was a career high in assists for Anthony Black. But Kev, what was your, I know you talked about it on the Postgame Live Monday, but what did you think of that performance against the Phoenix Suns the other night?
First off, Suns injury riddled, right? No Kevin Durant, no, like you said, Yusuf Nurkic, on and on the list goes. Bradley Beal. So credit to the Magic, for walking into Phoenix and facing a depleted team and just taking care of business, right? It wasn't pretty, but that's a building the Magic have notoriously been bad in for years and years and years and years. So we'll take the little bit of advantage that we could get as far as players go, but also schedule too. The Suns had just played on Sunday. Back-to-back for them, and so credit to the Magic for just kind of just taking care of business there. Like you said, definitely wasn't pretty. Magic only scored 93. No, sorry, wrong game. They scored 109 in this game on Monday. But again, you hold a team to under 199 points for the Suns. Doesn't matter who's playing in the NBA. If you're holding a team under 100 these days, it's pretty good. And so I'll credit the Magic's defense, of course. And yet, all of those things, it still wasn't a great Magic performance, and yet you find a way to win, just like a lot of other games during this stretch here. So, pretty good for him. Like you said, AB was sensational, and so obviously super happy with him. And Franz, obviously, just stealing the show. A super efficient 32 from him. Jonathan, are you still there by chance? That's what I thought. We've lost our friend Jonathan. Look at that nice frozen face. I tried to stall as much as possible, but Jonathan's gone. This is why we make solo scenes here on our show. Anyway, this will be a great time for us to go to the chat. I'm going to go to the chat and hear what you guys have to say about this Clippers game for a little bit while we wait and see if Jonathan returns from the dead. Hey, this is the beauty of doing live shows. This happens sometimes, and that's how it goes. But there's 85 of you here right now, which is about 84 more than I expected at 1:09 a.m. Eastern time. So thanks everybody for being here. Let's see. Janine does say, make sure to hit the like button for our guys. Thank you, Janine. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you appreciate this content, whether you're watching live at 1:09 a.m. or watching it later, definitely hit that like button. Luis Rosario says, TDS bounce pass to Goga for the dunk was nice. Yes, it was. Tristan da Silva had a nice game tonight. We'll obviously talk more about him in a little bit. Jonathan Osborne just texted me and said his internet provider is doing maintenance. Oh, man. Isn't that funny? Okay. It might just be me the rest of the way, folks. What a time. What a freaking time. That's incredible. Okay. Let's see here. This is the beauty of doing live things. That's incredible. Okay. Let's see here. Santi says, tough to watch all the missed threes again. Yeah, facts. Tonight was... If I go back to this box score for tonight, 22.9% from 3 on the night for the Magic. Not great, especially when you watch the Clippers hit a bunch of them. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Okay, let me give a couple more thoughts about this Phoenix game, and then we'll jump back to this Clippers game here in a second. So yeah, like I said, super impressive win on the road. Again, impressive is relative, right? Like who you're playing, not the best, but the Magic are also down 2 starters, lest we forget. It's been so long. And so, yeah, credit to the Magic for doing that. Franz, again, was sensational and really led the team, which is what makes a night like tonight even harder against the Clippers. Jonathan says he could be back in 15 minutes, so that's a positive sign. We'll see. We'll see if the bench unit here can keep the lead while Jonathan gets his rest on the bench. Maybe he'll come back in a second. But yeah, other than that, the Phoenix game, obviously, like Jonathan mentioned, holding Devin Booker to 17 points. Is that what he ended up with? Let's see. Yeah, 17 points on 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. You'll take that every single stinking night. And that's just a recipe for a victory right there. Every single time. Holding him to 17 when you don't have KD or Bradley Beal, you're more than likely going to get a win. They kind of blew the game open in that second quarter, 38-26, and didn't really look back. So yeah, credit the Magic. Starting the road trip well. Obviously tonight was a little bit more of a struggle, and we'll try to talk about that with Jonathan if he comes back in a little bit. But in the meantime, let's see here. I do want to look at one other thing from the Phoenix game, which was KCP, because we're going to talk about KCP's Clippers game. And so I think it's only fair to talk about KCP's Suns game. Okay. 9 points for him, 3 of 5 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. I thought Monday's game from KCP was pretty good, right? Obviously, he shoots the basketball well. I thought his defense was terrific when he was on Devin Booker, as well as some other guys. So KCP, terrific Monday night. In a little bit, we'll talk about his Wednesday night, which, spoiler alert, if you ask me, was his worst game in a Magic uniform thus far on both ends, which is not good. And I've seen the chat talk a lot about KCP. Yeah, that's amazing. All right, let's go to some more chat stuff from tonight. I know it's going to be a lot about this Clippers game, which makes sense. Janine says, time for Magic Maniac therapy session with my fellow Magic Maniacs. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Janine. This is what it's all about. Still got 80 of us here, weathering the storm of technical difficulties and internet issues and all that kind of stuff. Sean says, Sean reporting for duty, first time this season. Here to support my favorite host, Kevin. Sean, welcome back. I remember your name from last season. Glad to have you back. That's amazing. Colin says, KCP with the 3 that hit the side of the backboard was foreshadowing. Yikes. Wow, there is a ton of KCP in the chat. A ton of KCP in the chat. Wow. Okay. LGF says tonight's on the coach big time. I think there's something to that. We'll talk again, like I said, about this Clippers game in just a moment. Hopefully we'll go a few more minutes and see if Jonathan can hop back on here. But credit the Clippers defense. That was the best defensive performance I can recall this season against the Magic. Like, they did a great job with their game plan and kind of shutting particularly Franz down, obviously, and not letting Franz do whatever he wants, which, obviously spills out to everybody else. But at some point, you want your head coach to maybe try to adjust and adapt, and there was no adjusting or adapting, or if there was, it didn't work because, it was a rough little stretch. We got a super chat here from Sam. Sam, our good friend Sam, says, D still look good tonight. Should have lost by 20 plus. That's true. Defense kept you in it. Unfortunately, the long ball for the Clippers was just too efficient. What did they end up shooting officially from 3? 11 of 22. Yeah, that'll do it. Rough. Let's see a couple more stuff from the chat here before we kind of change gears here. Maybe talk a little about tonight's game. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, you guys. Some of this KCP stuff, I can't even read. I can't read on here. Shaw Black says, I live in the Philly area, and my brother and wife are diehard Sixers fans. My brother's in Christ. It could be way worse. The whole city is in shambles. Be encouraged. Yeah, they lost again tonight. Now, Joel Embiid had a good game, at least what I saw. But wow. Boston Business has KCP trash, garbage. He won those championships coming off the bench. That's not true. Why is he over here starting, just missing every shot and fouling everybody? Yeah, again, tonight was not good from KCP, but he wasn't coming off the bench. It's certainly for the Lakers, and I don't think he wasn't for the Nuggets either. Yeah, no. But I mean, obviously, I understand why people are upset. Tonight was bad for him, like really bad. I'm Jovi talking about Paolo says I'm fine with him coming back in January. Yeah. I mean, you obviously don't want to risk anything. If there's any level of risk to this, the Magic are not going to rush him back at all. At all. He will not come back until they are 100% certain that there's zero risk involved with like re-injuring or whatever. Blake says we should try starting someone else at shooting guard tomorrow. Interesting. It's an interesting thought. You're paying KCP a lot of money. But maybe you give him a veteran's second night of a back-to-back off and slot somebody else in there. Who knows? All right, before we look some more into I don't want to go too far down the path of the Clippers here. And the hard part is, that Suns game wasn't even the best game anyway, but we've already talked a little bit about the Suns game. So while we wait just a couple more minutes for Jonathan to see if he's able to hop back on here, I do want to let you know about a sponsor of the Six Man Show. It's Jam Hot Chicken. They're bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. Guys, if you have not tried Jam Hot Chicken, you got to do it. It's some serious good food there in Winter Park. Again, we don't put our stamp, our name next to something if we don't believe in them and don't back them. And so we absolutely back Jam Hot Chicken. We promise you'll like it. Even if you don't like spicy food, just get the food without spice, without the heat. That's what I get 9 times out of 10. And it's still amazing chicken and coleslaw and pickles and whatever else you like from there. It's all awesome. They're a Nashville and LA inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated in Winter Park, Florida. You can find them at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. You can follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media and check out jamhotchickenfl.com to access the menu, online ordering, and all things Jam Hot. So yeah, definitely check them out at like I said, 400 West New England Avenue, and let them know that the Six Man Show sent you. The Six Man Show is also brought to you by Eduardo Sanchez, David Duffy, Fritz, Jacob Swish, and the Court Cousins. They are some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons. Our patrons are the people that financially support the Six Man Show. They make everything that we do possible. To learn more about that and the different tiers that we have available, you can go to patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Again, that's where you can get more information about how you can financially support the Six Man Show and continue our mission, which is basically to just grow this Orlando Magic fan community in number, in passion, in knowledge, and all those things. We just love this family. We want it to be bigger and better than ever. So a great way to do that is to go to patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Big shout out to all of our amazing patrons. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and switch gears to this Clippers game tonight. I know we've kind of gone back and forth a little bit, and when Jonathan gets here, obviously I hope he's able to come back because I'd love to hear his thoughts on this game tonight. Before I go back to the chat and talk some more about it, I do want to give credit, like I said, to the Clippers defense. I think they probably had the best execution of Orlando Magic defensive game plan that we've seen all season. Well, maybe not all season, once Paolo's been out, right? A lot of teams, while Franz has gotten a lot of attention, has not gotten enough attention, right? And that's why he's been able to put up the numbers that he has. The Clippers tonight decided we're absolutely not going to let Franz beat us. Everyone else is going to have to beat us. And that obviously didn't happen. Franz tonight goes 5 of 11 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, 14 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals. You love to see that. But offensively, defense isn't the issue tonight, just like it isn't most nights. But yeah, offensively is where the Magic obviously struggled, and you need Franz to step up in a big way. And so for him to be held to 11 shots is tragic. Could you argue that Franz could have been more aggressive? Maybe. I don't know. To me, every time he got the ball and tried to turn the corner, he was met with a wall, no pun intended, talking about the Intuit Dome. And he had a hard time getting to his spots. And so I give a lot of the credit to that to the Clippers. It was asked earlier about Jamal Mosley. Could he maybe have made some adjustments in the second half to try and counter that? Maybe, but what is he going to do? Like, what kind of offensive weapons are out there? You got to give credit to Anthony Black, who was good in stretches of this game and also bad in other stretches. Ends up with 17 points, 8 assists, ties that career high again. 2 of 5 from 3, 5 of 9 from the line. He's the one who single-handedly kind of gave the Magic a little bit of a spark there at the end of the third quarter, part of that 8-0 run into the third, beginning of the fourth, whatever it was. So I give him a lot of credit. Jalen Suggs, I thought, was pretty good tonight. Again, I'd like to see him be a little more aggressive. I know it was a tough defensive matchup tonight, but I'd love to see his shot diet. We talked about this last week, and we saw it a little bit on Friday, that he kind of went back to this, but love to see him try to get to the rim more. That really didn't happen a lot tonight. Goga had a really difficult time with Zubac. Zubac is a handful, obviously, and so I don't fault him too much there. And the Magic defense did a really good job of shutting everybody else down in that first half, which allowed Zubac to kind of go crazy. Tristan da Silva, I thought, was really good tonight. Loved his one assist was beautiful. Also had a couple nice buckets as well. I love his basketball IQ as far as streaking and getting to the rim or running out on the break. He's super smart at those kinds of things, and his teammates are finding him. Mo Wagner was all right. Wasn't great. Jonathan Isaac was all right. Wasn't great. Oh, Jonathan's back. This is great news. Let's see here. Let's see if this is going to work. Jonathan, you back? Oh, yes. Thank the Lord.
That was not the longest 11 minutes of my life.
That is, what are the odds? We decide for the first time in a while, hey, let's just do a live show, and then that happens. Wow.
Yeah, of course.
Incredible. I just started talking about the Clippers game.
Yeah. And what are we talking about?
Well, it didn't go great, Jonathan. I don't know if you saw it. No, just kidding. I was kind of going through offensively how the Clippers did a great job of shutting down Franz, and there was some talk in the chat of Jamal Mosley kind of got outcoached in this game. And while I think there might be a little bit of merit to that, the thing I was talking about was they shut down Franz. So were there some things that maybe Jamal Mosley could have adjusted in the second half to try to account for that? Maybe. But the question then is who on this team offensively is going to take the reins and take over and lead a comeback? And I'm just going through the list, and I'm like, nobody had it tonight, which unfortunately happens more often than not with this team. But I was going through the list, talked about some different guys. The guy I really haven't talked at length yet is KCP, because I think there could be a whole potentially conversation about KCP. So I don't know where you want to start with your thoughts on this Clippers game before I think we do have to talk about Kenny.
Yeah, I looked it up in the middle of the game, and I was just like, how bad exactly are Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Gary Harris shooting collectively? And it was like 28 of 104 from behind the arc, good for like 6.9% from behind the arc on the year. Like, out of two guys who you're counting on to be some of your better three-point shooters, I don't know any nicer way to put it than that's just not going to get it done. Like, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, this was arguably his worst offensive game in a Magic uniform. It felt like it wasn't superb defensively, which, we can talk about guys that are in and out of the lineup for one reason or another. There seems to be some guys are getting more of a benefit of the doubt when they're only impactful on one side of the floor, and other guys aren't even given the time of day or the minutes necessary to be impactful on one side of the floor. But yeah, like I think you can really just look at that that possession in the late in the fourth quarter. Yeah. I forget who fed him the ball, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has like a relatively reasonable expectation of making a layup and just completely whiffs the reverse. And it's just like you play 30 minutes, 1 of 6 from the floor, 2 rebounds, assists, and a steal. Like in 3 personal fouls here and minus 18. I don't know. We want to get hung up on the individual, plus minus in any particular game. But to me, it's more just like a microcosm of like the offensive struggles that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at this point has had all season. This game notwithstanding, in 30 minutes a game, he's shooting 35% from the floor and 24.2% from behind the arc. Like, what the hell, right? Yeah. Like, you're paying this guy $23 million. He's coming off of a season where he shoots 46% from the floor, 40.6% from behind the arc. The year before that, 42.3% from 3. The year before that, 39%. The year before that, 41%. And now, like, I don't think this is going to continue, right? Like, at some point, he's going to break out of this slump. He's going to have a crazy hot streak. We're all going to look back and laugh at this point of the season. At this point, I think it's probably unlikely, like, we're getting close to the quarter point of the season. I don't think it's likely that he's going to get back to like 40% for the year. It would be great. but he should still. The statistics tell you that he should still finish in like the upper 30s, and I think if we look, 5 months from now, we would all take that at this point. But he has just been so bad offensively, and on a night where he's just not like a complete world beater defensively, it's like, what is he really giving you? But you can go up and down the box score tonight and be like, hey, this guy didn't really have it. What was he giving you? I hate to say this, right? Like, there aren't any moral victories. We don't want to really give these guys like an out for a bad performance, but you did just win 6 games in a row. And over the course of a, 82 game season, potentially 83 games, who knows what happens with this NBA Cup, but you're going to have nights like this where like you just don't have it for no particular rhyme or reason. Like the rebounding to me is the most striking thing. You get out rebounded 49-24, and like the Clippers miss, 41 shots in this game from the floor. Like you have to find a way to not allow your opponent to have 15 offensive rebounds, right? And now this is the second game in a row where the rebounding has been less than stellar. I'm not ready to ring the alarm or anything like that. Shout out to Beyonce. I don't know how many people remember that song, but probably a lot of people. It's Beyonce, right? But
Yeah,
regardless, like it's not a great trend the last couple of games, and I get irrationally upset when the people in the UK are listening to this and be like, you guys are such entitled crybaby idiots. But I get so annoyed when we stay up late for these games because it just always seems like we have like at least one stinker on these West Coast road trips.
Yeah.
And when you have a game like that where it's like, sure, you could point to, the shooting, of course, but when like the defensive focus isn't 100% there, you're not able to rebound, you're not able to defend without fouling. These games just become a little bit more frustrating for me, them being on the West Coast and it being late at night. But I figured I have to come back and give a multi-minute rant to give you a breather. But
the KCP thing is just like the shooting hasn't been there all season, but you were dealing with it and okay with it because of the defense that he brings. And tonight, I know James Harden is a foul merchant. I know he's crafty. I know he's one of the greatest offensive players of all time statistically, as much as it pains me to say, because I think he is a pain. But yeah, you expect better. Of the guys that defended him tonight, he was probably the worst, right? Like, I don't know what the stats say. That's just my eye test, right? Like
Jed Howard has an argument for that, but it's
close.
That's
true. Yeah, there was that. I forgot Jed got a little bit of burn there. But of the main guys, he just bought on the James Harden tricks more than anybody and played right into his hands. So that was kind of frustrating. We did get a super chat just a moment ago from Nick Monk. Said, "Hear me out. KCP, Dell, Cole for Zach LaVine."
Dell can't be traded, guys. I know that's a hot button item right now, but Dell cannot be traded due to the extension.
Right.
Even that, like, notwithstanding, I don't think I would do it, just given the amount of money that Zach LaVine makes, and his injury history as well. But like, people are gonna hate me saying this, but it's only 16, 17 games, at this point with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's going to have a stretch, where he shoots, 45% from 3 over the course of like 8 or 9 games. And we're all going to look back and be like, oh man, thank goodness that was over. Like the year-long concerns that we had with Franz, whether or not he was going to be able to shoot from deep. I get it. Like early returns have been awful, right? Like I don't remember, and there haven't been a ton of, free agency signings in the Weltman era, but I don't remember any of them looking quite this bad this early on outside of Al-Farouq Aminu, and we all knew how that ended up. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that level, but like with Al-Farouq Aminu, it was way different because he just never looked like a good fit from day one, just could never really find his spot in the rotation.
I also not sure he was ever 100% in, like all in. Like,
oh yeah,
he didn't buy
totally
into
well.
anything. I thought,
yeah. I mean, people are saying, oh, this is a bust of a signing, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's, what are the Magic now? They're 9-7. We're 16 games in. Like, it's too early to say that, but I 100% understand the frustration, and I do think it's warranted, just given his, his track record, right? And you look at the guys who are playing for Denver that are getting the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope minutes, from last year, and it's like, well, did they kind of know something in letting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope move on? Because Christian Brown, for example, is shooting the ball really well, but give it a month. I think we're going to look back at this time with Kentavious Caldwell. Like, don't forget, like, we're only a month into the season right now, right? Like, there's plenty of basketball left to be played. And I think if we look out a month from now, I would bet that we're probably looking at Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in that signing in a completely different light.
I hope so. I wanted to note, Jonathan, there are 100 people here right now, which is just stupid. You guys are nuts. It's 1:30 a.m. What are you doing? Go to bed. Just kidding. Glad you're here. Figure maybe we can take some time really fast and go through some of the things we're seeing in the chat. Sante Leon, our good friend and patron, says, one tough loss and people talking trade this guy and that guy. Stop it. We can't win all 82 games. A win versus the Lakers will make tonight's loss a distant memory. That is facts. That would be wild. If you turn this around and win at, well, I almost said Staples, crypto.com arena or whatever it is, that to salvage a winning West Coast streak, that would be crazy. But yeah, we also got to remember, guys, like, we're still without Paolo, we're still without Wendell. And the Clippers, I know they're without Kawhi, but they're still a great team. And Norman Powell, I mean, honestly, that with Magic lucked out on that tonight too. But yeah.
Did they? I mean,
well,
either way, it looks like.
Well, I'm saying there's a chance this was a blowout at halftime if Norman Powell is playing. Not saying he's a world beater or anything like that, but with how the Magic weren't necessarily scoring the basketball that great, you never know. Blake says J.I. did a pretty good job on Zubac. I mean, yeah. J.I. was defensively, I thought, was great tonight. Offensively, you want to see him hit. Did he really end up 2 of 4 from 3? I thought it was like 2 of 6 or something like that. But I mean, I guess I can't really knock him then. If he shot 50%, I'll give him credit. But yeah, he was great defensively all night long as far as defending the paint and stuff, which is always great. Colin says the third quarter, they lost their rhythm and went downhill from there. Okay, I wanted to mention this. AB goes on that run, gets it down to 10, 12, whatever it was. Then he gets whacked in the face and goes down on the sideline there. And to me, I felt that was so unfortunate because the Magic were in the midst of that run. And I honestly felt like that moment, which, that's not something you can quantify. It's not going to be in the stat sheet, but that moment changed the momentum. And again, I'm not saying it was on purpose. I'm not saying he got hit in the face and that's what's, I'm just saying it was just unfortunate for the Magic that moment happened and AB had to sit for, over a minute there on the sideline to figure out whatever it was, or I don't know if he was just milking it for the refs to try and review it, but whatever it was, I felt like it really kind of killed the momentum that the Magic had on that 8-0 run or whatever it was. Did that stand out to you at all?
Yeah, what I thought was interesting is that run came immediately after Kentavious Caldwell-Pope fell for the James Harden antics. He gets fouled for 3. And I texted in our group chat. I said, hey, like, Jed Howard got pulled immediately after fouling James Harden on a 3. Are we going to see the same treatment here? And to Mosley's credit, we did. Like, KCP gets pulled immediately for Gary Harris. And then AB hits 2 straight threes, has one of the most disgusting passes you will ever see on the backdoor cut. Mo Wagner, he hits the layup. And then AB gets fouled on the next steal there, makes one of the 2 free throws. Magic had like a little 9-0 run there. But no, to your point, like, there was a ton of momentum, and then it seemed like it kind of flipped back the other way at that point. But like that was just an example of, all game long, it felt like the Magic had 3 or 4 like really solid possessions in a row, and you felt like they were stringing some momentum together. And then, Ivica Zubac gets a offensive rebound what was the guy tonight? Jordan Miller, gets a wide open dunk like underneath the basket on that play where Jalen Suggs sort of slipped and came up limping a little bit, and that really didn't look good. I was really concerned in that second, but like that was just the story of this game. The Magic looking like they're about to have a rebound. It gets tipped to another guy who's wide open for a dunk, or there's a miscommunication in transition. Guy gets a wide open layup, and the Magic just, stop me if you've heard this before, but 8 of 35 from 3, 22%, just not really going to get it done when you also have, what was it, like 11 first half turnovers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all those things combined, never going to do it. Cedric Brown says, it's early in the season, no need to panic. KCP will get it together. I think a lot of people feel that, but I think as every game goes by, starts to look more and more grim, I think, for that. Luke B says, shout out Kev pushing through the technical difficulties. FanDuel Sports Network could never rip. So here's what's interesting. For those that were in Central Florida, apparently you guys lost video and audio for that section there in the third quarter. Those of us, like myself, that watched on League Pass, you got video but no audio. Actually, by audio, I mean we just lost the commentators. You just heard the arena, which was actually kind of fun. I like when there's moments like that where there's no obviously, I love our commentators, but it was nice to just hear the building. And so I got to witness that horrible run, that the lead. I think you said when it turned off for you, it was a 2-point game.
It was. I was wrong. I was just sort of caught up in the frustration of coming back from that break. But like you're down 4, and I didn't even realize what was happening. I was like, man, this is a really long commercial break. Like, you know, and then all of a sudden it's like we got this like gray screen with this like bar going across the bottom. I was like, are we playing Brick Breaker here? What's happening? And then you see the FanDuel experiencing technical difficulties, and the broadcast comes back, and the Magic are down 10 or 12. I'm like, well, what the freak happened here? Like, that run felt like the difference in the game. And I didn't even see it happen.
Yeah, I promise you it was the difference, and it was very ugly. It wasn't like catastrophic, like nothing happened. It's just they couldn't score, and the Clippers did over and over and over again, right? Sean78 says, Black has definitely improved year 2, but not ready to run the show. Interesting moving forward is always roster construction, lots of duplicated talent with what type of player the Magic collect. Here's what I was saying earlier when I was talking about AB. AB was really good for parts of this game. He was also not good for parts of this game. This was not a complete Anthony Black performance, which is pretty wild when you look at that he had 17 points and 8 assists. You think, wow, that's terrific. But there were also stretches of the game, especially early on, just turned the ball over. He ends up with 6 on the night. And so I think
just throwing the ball to the Clippers kind of turnovers.
Right. And so that's the thing with Anthony Black. Like, the good thing is we're seeing flashes of what can be, right? But we're also being reminded of what is currently, right? Like, he's not quite there yet, but I think the ceiling's still there. And you and I talked about this, Jonathan, before the season. This has to be pretty much treated like an Anthony Black rookie year. And tonight, I think, was like a perfect, summary of that, basically, in a nutshell, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Just have to remember, like, there's going to be ups and downs with AB. And, I'm not going to tell anybody don't get too high. Like, when it comes to AB's good games, like, get as high on those as you want. But certainly don't get super low off of a 6 turnover game like this. Now, if it becomes a habit, right, like, that's certainly not what we want to see. But, credit to Anthony Black for at least trying to make things happen tonight. There were some other guys who, like particularly in that second unit, like Mo Wagner's got 3 guys around him, and guys are just watching Mo play 3-on-1, trying to score a basket. So to me, this is just more of like a weird game, in the middle of the season. You're going to have, half a dozen of those, each year. Maybe it's, looking forward to the Lakers, it's second night of a back-to-back, you're playing twice in, a 24-hour period there, but
maybe it's the wall.
It just wasn't great.
The wall did it to him. I'm just kidding.
Do you want to talk about Intuit Dome at all? At what point do we want to go into that?
In just a second, a couple super chats. One of them was from a few minutes ago, and I missed it, so I apologize. Hank says, AB having 0 rebounds is a telling sign of the type of shots the Clips were taking. They definitely had upper hand in rebounds. Yeah, not only that, but they didn't miss a lot from their threes, which is typically where guards get a lot of rebounds, is from long threes being missed. And so if you go 11 of 22 or whatever it was, it's going to kind of be a tough night in that category. Thank you for that super chat. And then Nick Monk says, if AB can tighten his handle, he could be an issue. Yeah, handle an issue. Like Jonathan said, he gets caught sometimes, like whether it's leaving his feet or whatever, with just some really bad passes, like straight to the defender bad passes, which is not good. Okay, Intuit Dome, I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say. We're a month into the season thus far, and so maybe some of you haven't watched other games. I've watched a couple of their games just basically to watch the place. The place still looks it looks like a sci-fi film. Like if like the Hunger Games had NBA basketball or whatever, and like one of the really rich provinces or whatever they call it, sectors, whatever it is, that's what it looks like to me. Like it's like straight out of like 50 years from the future. I don't know. It still looks really cool. That Halo board's crazy. I'm definitely curious one of our patrons, Fuchsia, went to the game tonight, and so I'm curious if she wants to tweet at us, let us know your experience there at Intuit Dome. But did you have any thoughts about that, about the wall, about anything at all?
Yeah, I think what's interesting in the maybe 2 or 3 games that I haven't watched a ton of the games, like tonight being one of them. But just like obviously the crowds, not being super full, by any means.
Yeah.
Obviously, no Kawhi Leonard, and they haven't been off to the best start in the world, for their standards and what their payroll would say. So I guess part of that is understandable, but I guess like, part of me is like, hey, maybe you didn't really have it that bad at the crypto.com arena or whatever it was. Like, how many people were just going to Clippers games as like something to do while they're in the area? I don't know how far Intuit Dome is from like that particular area of Los Angeles, but it's going to be interesting because now like they don't really have like they're just on their own where they are now. Like, how well are they going to be able to really fill that building? The wall, I think, is a really cool concept. Obviously, I would love to see something like that in Orlando. It is so steep. You will never, ever see me sitting in anything like that. Because if you tumble down those stairs, you are going all the way down. Like when they say a wall, it literally almost looks like it just goes straight up. It is that steep on that side of the arena. But no, like, I like buildings that have a lot of character. And I'm not saying Kia is like a, outstanding arena in that regard. Like I'm more talking about like Indiana's building, like even when we went to Charlotte last year, like I really liked the Spectrum Center there where they play basketball. We went to Atlanta a couple of years ago. I thought that building was really cool. It just feels like super like corporate, and it's like a multi-use facility, right? Which all of these buildings now, this is a $2 billion building, the cost to build that, like they're going to make sure that they get their money's worth. So they're going to make sure that, Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift and all these people coming to town, if you're doing 2 nights in LA, maybe instead of going to crypto.com arena, maybe you're doing 2 nights in the Intuit Dome now, or whatever the heck it is that they're calling it. But yeah, like these multi-use facilities, they just don't feel like basketball buildings necessarily, and they feel super corporate in that regard. Now the amenities and everything I'm sure are amazing, right? But I wasn't super into it.
Yeah, hence the title of this episode, not into it. Yeah, I just feel like I got to put some respect on Taylor's name. Taylor doesn't do shows in arenas anymore, brother. It's all football stadiums.
Oh,
she's too big for that.
I'm
Santi
so
Leon
sorry.
says,
So
can we
sorry
consider Harden a clown with the way he plays and always tries to draw fouls behind the arc? He's still a flopper. Yeah, I can't stand him. It's terrible. It's terrible for the game of basketball. But unfortunately, it's just kind of what you come to expect with him. He's been doing it for years. It's unfortunate because he is a great scorer of the basketball, great shooter of the basketball. I love lefty shooters. It's fun to watch, but not James Harden. I don't think he's fun to watch. I can't stand him. Let's see here. A couple more. Chat doing some fun things tonight. Blake says, we looked tired and the Clippers matched and surpassed our defensive intensity. Yeah, again, I thought this was the most Magic-esque defensive performance I've seen from another team against the Magic this season, if that makes any sense. I was super impressed with, kind of their defensive structure and intensity, and gave the Magic a really, really difficult time, which our offense struggles with bad defenses sometimes. And so it's kind of the way that goes. It's interesting. We got people in the chat from all over the place with this time tonight. We got some people like Abdul says it's 1:30 p.m. in his country. We got Daidalos, who is in Europe, says it's 7:30. We're just waking up, and too bad we lost. It is Daidalos, but glad you're here. Blake also says, despite this loss, the AB rise is really encouraging. I mean, absolutely. Like we said, if you take the highs and the lows of AB's season, it still averages to an upward trajectory, right? Like there's absolutely no doubt with what we've seen from him this season. Obviously, it's super, super exciting. Colin says, this is all growing pains. The team is still on the rise. Got a couple more here. Thanks, Praises says, I was hoping for Grady Dick and Jordan Hawkins. I'm a fan of AB and Jet, but man, would have been lights out from the perimeter. It is a little bit, discouraging sometimes to see some of those guys light it up from 3 when the Magic can't hit an open 3 to save their lives, and so I get that. But I'm still super happy with AB, at least for now. The jury's still out on Jet. Freddie says, the arena was awesome tonight. Best arena I've been to. Okay, so very cool. Very cool. You got to go to that game, got to cheer for the Magic, and got to check out the new Intuit Dome. Jonathan, you and I are going to have to go sometime. I don't know if it's next year or 10 years from now, but I think we got to do it.
Yeah, I believe it. Like the amenities and everything like that, like the technology, I'm sure it's all next level. Like we've seen all of that. I'm just more so like talking about like going there to like watch like when you're in your seat watching the game. I'm sure like the Halo board is really cool. But just in terms of like the basketball atmosphere, right? Like the Clippers have always sort of felt like the little brother in LA. They obviously don't have like the built-in diehard fan base that the Lakers do, or even the Magic do. I think they're always going to struggle with that, but I'm sure it's still an awesome like experience, like being in that building. So we'll definitely have to get out there, for a game eventually. I'm looking forward to that.
Last one from the chat here says Luke B says, why does Amir Coffey hate us? Well, unfortunately, when you leave him open, he's just going to do what he does. And the Magic left him open way too many times tonight. Oh, gosh. Well, there's one more chat I'm going to hit. Nick Monk says, I'm currently walking down Church Street crying because KCP missed so bad that the ball hit me. Okay. You hate to see that. What a way to wrap up the chat here tonight. Chat, thanks so much for hanging out with us in this unique hybrid post-game live / six-man show episode tonight. So, yeah, that's a good way to wrap up the chat tonight. Jonathan, look ahead to Thursday. Lakers game. How you feeling about this after what we saw against the Clippers tonight?
I feel pretty good. I'm looking at it right now. The Magic are opening at plus 5.5 point underdogs, right? I don't know how much that is going to move, but I feel pretty comfortable. Like, I'll probably bet the Magic to cover, just because like after a performance like that, whenever the Magic come out like with a lackluster effort, they almost always respond in a really big way, right? They're not going to want to lose both of those, back to back. And unfortunately, like in terms of minutes, like Franz still played 34 minutes tonight. KCP and Anthony Black both played 29 minutes. So maybe you would have liked the Clippers to close out this game a little bit earlier, instead of waiting until I think it was like the 3:20 mark in the fourth when Jamal Mosley decided to wave the white flag and bring the bench unit in. But yeah, it would have been great to get those guys a little bit of rest. But, those guys are still relatively young. It's still relatively early in the season. So, get out there, have a good, bounce back game. I know the Lakers, they're coming off of a big win. What was that last night over? Was it the Timberwolves or who?
The Lakers,
I forget who that
they beat
was.
the Jazz, I think it was.
Oh, that was right. Yeah, Dalton Connect went crazy over the Jazz. It was so. And I say big win. They won that game by 6 with Dalton Connect dropping 37. So, but yeah, I mean the Lakers, they're coming into this game with a 6-game win streak of their own. So
they're the hottest team in basketball. Yeah,
they're the hottest team in basketball. I'm sure the Magic would love to be a part of another game where a 6-game win streak is ended. This time it'd be somebody else's. But yeah, I mean Magic. This is a game that tonight it felt like you needed to find a way to win this game, especially with the amount of guys that they're down, and the way that Franz Wagner has been playing coming into this game. I know he didn't really play well. What was that? 11 shot attempts tonight. You and I have talked that like that every single night. That's got to be 20 and above. And I think to the Clippers' credit, like especially like Derrick Jones Jr. did a good job defensively on Franz and causing him some trouble. But Franz has got to have a bounce back night. And unfortunately right now, right, like I think one of the biggest questions that's been answered during this stretch without Paolo is that like after Franz, we don't really have a guy that's going to be able to consistently step up, offensively, at least not at this point. Like, do I think a guy, like Anthony Black or, Jalen Suggs or even a guy like Tristan da Silva may be able to get there eventually? Sure. But I think it's pretty clear that they're not there yet. And if there's like any question on, maybe the Magic need to make some moves at the deadline, it would be for like another guy who, if Franz or Paolo don't have it on a given night, like a guy that you can count on to step up pretty regularly. Fully healthy roster, it feels like we probably have a couple of those guys on the roster, but if you do have to go without somebody for an extended period of time, being able to have like not even necessarily like a playmaker, but just like a guy who can create his own offense, I think is going to be really big. But I hope the Magic bounce back Thursday. I know we all do. I'm not saying anything really profound there. But yeah, definitely. If you lose that game, then then you lost the road trip. So win it and come back home. Get ready for Saturday and get ready for another one versus Detroit. Regardless,
win or loss, the Sixth Man Show will be back this exact same time, 24 hours from now on the Postgame Live. It'll be fun. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. I missed a lot. Did we do ads? Do we have to do any of that?
We're done, Skis. We're done. We can go home. We can go to bed. Let's call it a night.
Right, perfect. So that is going to wrap this one up. Appreciate everybody for hanging out here. Over 100 of you hanging out. We're almost at 2 a.m. here. So, but yeah, back at it tomorrow. Looking forward to another win. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!